What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to our broadcast. This is Essentials.tf. We're live at DreamHack in Atlanta. I'm your host of this first segment. My name is Max, and I'm joined by Meyer. How are you doing, Meyer?
Oh, doing pretty well. This is absolutely lovely. A little cold, but it's been great vibes. This is all.
Yeah. Heating up in here, you know. Inside land event, having fun, and we've already one round down in this Team Fortress event right now. We're stage games, establishing seeding as we go into a bracket format eventually. And we should have a good match coming up for you. Zone 6 versus the Kyle Flett experience. Both these teams picking up a win in that first game, and anchoring for a good position. As again, I mentioned, we get into
It's going to be an influential match at group stage, so how we can get into that playoff scene. But should be interesting.
Yeah, and I think always with the land setting, there's definitely kind of ironing out the bumps in your team setup and just kind of building that chemistry again. You know, a lot of these teams are kind of mixed matches of like players that have a lot of experience playing with each other versus other people that they just kind of know from around the Team Fortress community. We got a couple of superstars coming back into the fold as well. One of the players on this team for Zone 6 is Barodactyl, who's like a classic player. He's been around the block for a very long time. Cool to see him make the trip down here for this tournament. That Zone 6 team pretty well stacked with good players, and then Kyle Flett's experience, maybe a mix more of players that are advanced name, been around for a long time, but not necessarily play at the same level as some of these players. It'd be interesting to see that once we get this land chemistry, how they stack up against each other.
Yeah, Zone 6 these days, a lot of them play together forever. Not necessarily Bear, as you mentioned, but Bear also here playing Soldier as well, which if you know, Bear mains medic usually. Has played Soldier at LAN before, I believe at Archer before. He played in the Roosty on Soldier?
Yeah, he's a legendary medic. I'm not sure if he'd be the top 100 as they put out, compiling ranking players on Team Fortress. Team Fortress has a long competitive history. So yeah, a player like Bear has been around the block, playing by medic for a very long time. But a lot of these players are just switching up, changing classes, trying different positions on Team Fortress. Now, of course, Team Fortress is a very storied game. There are other major titles that drawn a lot of inspiration from Team Fortress. Of course, Team Fortress 2 has been around for a long time, but even the game itself has a longer history coming from Kuwait and really kind of had that rock, paper, scissors gameplay of 9 different classes that you can choose from, and each of the different classes having their own strengths and weaknesses, and kind of countering each other. That style of kind of hero class-based shooters has definitely become more prevalent in the world of first-person shooters. And in Team Fortress, how we play this 6v6, one game may move away from that player count, but in the Team Fortress format, really allows for a couple of these classes to shine. We see the medic providing healing to the teams, as well as the charges, which give players invincibility. A lot of the game revolves around that. You also have the Devil Man, who has the sticky bomb traps, which can really kind of slow down the game and make players have to pause. They are stalemates, but it is more of this kind of waiting, seeing where each team is going to go. So the Devil Man is a key class. Both those classes limited to one, and then the other main combat classes would be the Scout, that's kind of like the glass cannon with a shotgun, and the Soldier, whose rocket launcher and rocket jumps are really pretty iconic of Team Fortress. Take a lot of skill to execute as well.
Yeah, Team Fortress 2, I think that you mentioned that, these mechanics have often been adapted in other games, because Team Fortress 2, really, both for better and for worse, both in things like gameplay, but also things like even loot boxes and how the gaming industry has changed. Yeah. It really is an incredibly influential game, and we see that even through today. So, getting a chance to look at the roots of this game and just see it next to all these modern titles is really something special.
Yeah, and it's fun to see all the cosmetics that players have. Of course, once we get in game, that enables people to have a lot of, flavor and personality to, their class, even though everybody's, basically looking the same. As well, mentioned that there's 9 different classes in the world of Team Fortress. In 6v6, I kind of outlined the 4 main classes that you're going to see. But every class does have its role and potentially will come out over the course of the game. That's something that in the past there's been critiques of this 6v6 competitive format. Some people prefer to play a style called Highlander, but with 9 players on each team, that's something that as you get to the higher level of competitive play, it's really hard to transfer that into LAN events, transfer that into tournaments. Transfer that into a format where the payout really actually ends up being a significant split for each player. If you're having to split that between 9 players as well as pay out the top 4 teams, that's just a lot more money that gets divvied up. And Highlander, there is a lot of skill to it. It's a complex game. It's a format that's still popular to this date. But 6v6, which we'll be seeing here, is a wonderful competitive esport. Really kind of showcasing the strengths of Team Fortress, the different classes, and providing for exciting gameplay as well.
Yeah, but that is really one of the cool things about Team Fortress 2, because we haven't really had this sort of competitive format ordained on high from Valve.
Right,
It's given the community a chance to experiment with these formats, whether it's 6v6 Highlander, even more obscure formats like 4s or Ulti Duo or Pro Lander, no restriction 6s. There's so many experiments that people have done with this game and really made it their own. And I think that's the biggest thing about this. It's just there's so many experiences that you can have in TF2. It's not really one game.
Right, yeah, and I mean, there's all these items, as you mentioned. That's something where, we play basically nowadays with a fairly limited ban system, really kind of just to help push the gameplay into a positive space and enable for things to not get too slogged down. Really it's kind of like, a lot of traditional sports, do have rules to make sure that gameplay is flowing, that the spectator experience is a positive thing. And most of the gameplay as well, as you mentioned, like, players in the community have kind of pushed it into certain rule sets and formats. And one of those things is like the maps that we play, And there are some community-made maps, and there's maps that have different kind of game rules. We were talking about Highlander just a second ago, and that's something where you see that like payload format. And that's something that a lot of other games have, these days, is like you have this thing, whether it's a cart or a robot pushing a bomb or something, that you have to escort to the goal. That's not something that we see in 6v6, but there is the King of the Hill format, which again is something that a lot of other games have mimicked, have brought in. That is in the map pool here today. We'll see if that gets played. So far, the matches that we've had have just been on the 5 control point version of Team Fortress, which is a little bit more prevalent. But at the same time, both of these formats work really well with 6v6 and provide a deep, strategical experience. The 5 control points, it's more of a tug of war, but also you get that, mid-fight rollout. Before we went live, I and myself were talking about like Counter-Strike and Valorant, and that's, something that a lot of other games have, where you have this like clash of 2 teams, coming together. And that's certainly a big deal in the world of Team Fortress.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned the rollout. Of course, these teams are going to start and spawn, but they will actually be fighting on the middle point first. So it's as soon as the round starts, you have to watch. It's like who's going to get there first. That can influence a major fight. That fight can influence a round. It really, even though there's so much going on, it is a game of these tiny little details and just seeing who can win out on all of those little fights.
Yeah, and particularly for the demo man and the soldiers, the speediness of your rollout makes a really big difference. It's also something where, you can kind of make these sacrifices where you say, okay, well, I'm going to end up at the midpoint with a little bit less health, but I'm going to get there a second and a half in front of when the enemy team is going to be there. So,
yeah, for sure. And I think that's one of the interesting parts that, like, obviously there's one game that everyone associates with ex-TF2 players, but the other scene that's also seen a lot of ex-TF2 players is a lot of those movement shooters games like Quake remakes or Diabolical. still around. Those always, when you see a release for one of those arena FPS games, there's ex-TF2 players that are perking their ears up.
Yeah, certainly. A lot of that kind of Quake style, carries over quite a bit, and just raw, FPS mechanics. There's less hit scan in Team Fortress than there is in, say, Valorant or Counter-Strike, but certainly with the scouts, that's still a really prevalent form of shooter mechanics that is in this game.
Yeah, but that projectile gameplay of TF2, it's one of the things that makes TF2 LAN so special. Because projectiles are affected so much more by that network latency, seeing people in a LAN environment, soldier and demo gameplay can be elevated so much. It's crazy.
Yeah. You also definitely have great players, coming in and choosing to run Sniper. Sniper is also pretty popular in a LAN setting. Everybody's going to be looking for those highlight clips for sure, whether it's huge air shots or getting some key snipes to drop some members of the enemy team.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see those sniper gameplay come out usually a little more during the stalemates, a little more during those times where teams just can't get through. They need to break it. They need to get a pick. And that's really one of the special parts about Team Fortress 2, where you see those off classes shine. It's in that stalemates that 5CP kind of allows to be created.
Right. Yeah, that's where also Spy is a hugely popular class of Team Fortress, really iconic, whether they're crab walking or getting trick stabs, or face stabs. That's something that has been very popular in the scene, popular to play, popular to watch. Shout out to my boy Stabby, who is a longtime Spy content creator.
Classic. He just put out a music album.
Really? Stabby?
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter. He posted something on Bandcamp.
Nice. Yeah, I love Stabby. He's a great dude. And Pyro's another one that is, a popular, iconic class of Team Fortress. But while you have like the Sniper and the Spy as kind of the pick-off classes, Pyro kind of gets lumped into heavy weapons guy and engineer as like a more defensive, desperate measure. You have that air blast mechanic, and particularly with how it works with if a mid fight is disastrous for one team, that means the team that got that advantage there, they're going to have a full Uber charge ready to go. They can just charge into that last point with that invulnerability, get the capture potentially quite easily. And so sometimes you'll see teams basically sacrifice a player to run Pyro and just get in there and air blast that choke, try to keep that team from pushing in and getting through those doorways.
Yeah, it's really interesting that Pyro, class obviously known for the fire and all that, is actually his whole purpose on 6v6 really is actually that air blast, is that mechanic of being able to not just move people but deny where they move, stun them. It's such a powerful mechanic when you think about it, and especially because I believe we will be on Snakewater for this map, so decent chance that a Pyro will come out. It can be a decently close range map depending on how you hold it. Not the iconic Pyro map, I'd say the iconic Pyro map is Gully Wash for sure.
Yeah, definitely. There's some really popular maps in Team Fortress that have been around for a long time. Some of these maps, came from the community and then got integrated into the game as official maps. I think we've actually moved past the point where almost all the maps are that style. Even the one that's the closest would be Viaduct, but then we have kind of like a community-made modification of that map that we play. But the classics of like Granary and Badlands, even Gravel Pit, unfortunately are not played anymore. Gravel Pit, a classic, but certainly a fragment of long lost times of Team Fortress.
Yeah. I mean, now we've actually kind of moved into the other way, where a lot of even the maps that are officially in the game do have what's called refresh versions, which is things that the community have made that are basically bug fixes, small changes to the map, not fundamentally changing them, but just making them better for competitive play. Because really, when you have competitive play, you notice those bugs, those little tiny imperfections in the map that you might never really see or become a factor in like a pub game.
And shout out to Valve, they have been making adjustments to some of these maps, like Snakewater, which is the one that we're going to be ending up on here today. But Snakewater has continued to be tinkered by the map editor and Valve themselves. And even though support for the game has kind of slowed down, Valve still steps in every once in a while with some crucial patches. So we do appreciate that.
Yeah, you always take what you can get with Valve.
For sure. Speaking of what you can get, just wanted to give you a rundown of some of the other stuff that we have going on. We're going to be having Team Fortress throughout the weekend. We're taking care of some of these group stage matches today. We're just going to be playing a couple, and then we're going to have a couple more tomorrow, and then get into the bracket, and then we'll be wrapping things up on Sunday. But also with this BYOC stage that we have, we're going to be providing coverage of some of the other events that are going on in the BYOC area behind us, which will be Age of Empires 4, Valorant, Counter-Strike, and Rocket League. So we're pretty excited about that and producing coverage of those games. It should be a lot of fun. We're streaming this live to the Essentials.tf channel, but probably going to be switching over to the DreamHack channel for our online coverage of those other games. But should be a lot of fun. We're having a few issues with players. I think we'll still just keep hanging out here. And hopefully they will clarify those issues shortly. Ira, have you gotten a chance to walk around the floor of DreamHack here?
Yeah, I've gotten a little bit of a chance. I did get to see the Ludwig box. I haven't seen him in it yet, but I saw him putting it together yesterday.
Yeah, he's in there.
He is.
I think he started his stream, his 50-hour countdown. Got everything all set up as is evident. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get things rolling, get all the technical issues sorted out, and we're happy to be doing that now. There's some other great tournaments going on. There was like Collegiate Valorant.
Yeah.
There was StarCraft as well. Watched a little bit of StarCraft.
Yeah, not quite the StarCraft guru myself, but I know you were getting into it.
Yeah. There's also a lot of FGC stuff going on, which has always been a strong.
That's also
a strong presence at DreamHack,
Yeah, big Magic the Gathering tournament. I know we're right in the middle of it as well.
Yeah, just about. They have a slew of tables over there. Then someone was telling me they actually have a whole nother room over there, which I haven't checked out. But yeah, they're taking up some space.
Yeah, just past the false wall, it's like a whole another room of just rows of tables.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah. Crazy. Good to see though all the different types of gaming, here. Competitive card gaming, FGC, and all sorts of esports on hand. Also some cool exhibitors. There's like an indie arcade playground, which is always pretty cool. I just strolled through there real quick. What looked like some neat games in the works. And of course, we also have some exhibitors if you need some swag to pick up. So.
Yeah, even some cool panels going on. If you're interested in the more the esportsy industry side of it, or just the creative aspects. Plenty for you at this great land in Atlanta.
Yeah. We're also portioned nearby the Creator Hub, which as streamers coming in and hanging out and streaming on Twitch to their fan bases. But cool to see them kind of set up at this in-person presence.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. I don't know. It's been crazy. It's I didn't expect this is my first ever LAN event, actually.
Oh, really?
So it's been crazy just to see how many people are here, and it's just in a room. It's truly, if you have not been, it is an experience like no other. Would recommend.
For sure.
Try to make it out to one. See you there.
Yeah, and that's what's fun about DreamHack, is they're taking place not just across the nation, all across the world as well. Sometimes I get a little bit blurred. I got good friends in the DreamHack community, so I hear whisperings of things. So in some sense, maybe I'm not sure what all I'm supposed to mention. But there's definitely some cool events coming up in the future. And like I said, both around the nation and around the world. In the past, they've been in California, here in Atlanta. Most recently, it was Dallas as well for a North American event. And also that kind of DreamHack ESL kind of crosses over as well. So there was the big Counter-Strike LAN event in Rio, which is pretty cool recently. So always some local esports that you can check out. Of course, this BYOC style is a lot of fun. There's a big BYOC LAN by me, and it's just great to come and hang out. And you see people playing single player games at a LAN. I for me sometimes I end up doing a lot of work, which is weird, but it's just it's cool to be in that community, cool to be in that setting, and just amongst friends, and just park somewhere with your computer, basically.
Yeah, it's always about the vibes, always good vibes. I think the next DreamHack is San Diego, I want to say. That's the one that's been kind of advertised around.
I've heard about that. And that's something that, we'll have to see. You know, we're just building up momentum with this Team Fortress offering on hand, and we appreciate all the support from Team Fortress fans over the years. Obviously, really long-running community, a lot of devoted players, and people that just kind of come in and out. You know, like it's hard to stay away from Team Fortress.
Absolutely, and TF2's been at DreamHacks especially for a long time. You know, less so in America. That's been a bit of a newer revelation. But DreamHack, we've always been at the DreamHack winters and summers over in Sweden.
Yep.
And Jönköping. So, I mean, famous moments. You know, Sideshow and all of this clips that a lot of people in TF2 community will always remember. They've come from this DreamHack events. So, to be back at DreamHacks and back hosting these tournaments, it's an amazing thing to see for the TF2 community, I think.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think we got 11 players in service. Ooh. So just waiting on one more for Zone 6 to pop in here. But I think we will get started pretty soon here. Oh, no, actually, excuse me. Looks like Bear was on the wrong team. So waiting for somebody from the Kyle Fett experience. Just to run down that Zone 6 roster real quick. You got Krispy Kreme. You got Bear, Alfredo Dan, Frick My Nick, Crazian, and Scream. So
yeah,
a lot of familiar names on that team.
Yeah, a lot of names, especially if you've been following, Advanced or Invite for a long time. These guys, it's kind of been around that, back in the ESCA, it'd be High IM. Now it's your Advanced range. Been playing for a long time, especially, Scream, Frick My Neck, Crazian making a bit of a return, but it's always been around the scene,
Yeah.
So plenty of veteran, storied names. Obviously mentioned Bear, longtime Invite Medic, trying his hand on Soldier again here at LAN. Having a bit of fun with it, so always good to see medics try and experiment. Usually you see people off class, it goes the other way. Either it's a combat class going to another combat class or a combat class playing medic. You don't often see people get off the medic slot. You don't get let out of medic jail easily, believe me, I know.
Yeah, it's true for sure. And yeah, I mean, again, just to reiterate, Team Fortress, extremely strong grassroots scene. Really cool to see it kind of persevere. The North American community LAN is called rgl.gg, and this season they had around 100 teams, so that's 600 players. And I mean, Counter-Strike's got a really strong, amateur scene. But in terms of other esports and people actively competing, I'm, still not really sure what other shooters are up there, And part of that is because in these other shooters, they have a stronger, in-game ranked system where you essentially can play a competitive game, with random other players, So that kind of helps, and everybody thinks they're a superstar, So they just say, oh, they're just going to grind it out on ranked by themselves and be matched with these strangers. Team Fortress, the team play of it, the team chemistry, comes in, as much more of a factor. You have to be able to build relationships with people, maintain relationships with people, and I think you see that sometimes with teams where maybe they start the season off really strong, and then tensions start to build, and players are still learning how to deal with that. There's a lot of just kind of that esports. Team management and maturity, that comes into things as a factor. So, but yeah, it looks like we did get word that we should be starting within 90 seconds here. So we should be in match shortly. Once again, we will be playing Snakewater, Zone 6 versus the Kyle Fett experience.
Yes, indeed. And I mean, do you look at these two teams? You definitely have to favor Zone 6. I'd say, just the amount of experience. These guys, they've played LANs many times. They've played together for ages. You'd have to favor them going into this. But we were watching their game off of stream just before this, and they had a little bit of an issue closing. They definitely showed a little bit of weakness.
Yeah,
that was over on Granary, so different map. Snakewater, much more puggy, fast-flowing map. But
Metalworks.
Yeah, Metalworks. I have strong opinions on Metalworks.
Yeah, and I mean, you're right. They dropped that round, but I think also they might have had stronger opponents in the first round as well. Cat Noise's Black, they were putting up a pretty good fight up against Zone 6. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they match up against Kyle Fett Experience. But Kyle Fett Experience, did get a 5-0 in their last match. So they were showing some strength there for sure. Yeah,
and Kyle Fett definitely not a team of nobodies. A lot of these people, I think Millie, Trees, Slippy, that kind of core, they've been playing together for quite a bit over in Maine, over in that kind of main advanced sort of hemisphere. So they definitely haven't been nowhere, but you definitely have to favor the team with a little more experience.
And a classic pump of the brakes there, where teams have been given the green light, and then they start like they're about to go, and then they're like, wait, are we clear to go? And yes, we are clear to go. So
we're told 90 seconds again.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. It's Team Fortress 2, everybody.
Yeah, and some playful banter in chat as well. So should be a good time between these players. And, of course, with Team Fortress 2 being kind of a pretty tight-knit community, a lot of history between some of these players. I know one of the other players at this event was joking about squashing some beefs and you know, adding more fire to the rivalry, I guess, maybe more so than squashing beef. But
it can go either way. You never know.
Yeah. You know, and it's always great to meet people in person. You know, I've been fortunate for, you know, making internet friends and then meeting internet friends in person. That always kind of changes the relationship quite a bit. And it does look like we are live here in game as, we finally get our first view of this in-game action. And blue team will be the Kyle Fett
We
experience.
have a spy to mid. I repeat, first round on the stage. There is a spy to mid. That is Tree.
Yeah, and you might as well like start it off with some fire here. And Zone 6 maybe kind of sensing that a little bit of wackiness is underway, so they're playing this real slow. The spy is behind though, has the cloak coming up. Grace gets the stab!
First kill, first casted game, medic backstab. How often do you see that?
Yeah, and of course in response, Zone 6 is going to say, okay, well we have no medic anymore. We have to answer that with pure aggression. And that aggression actually pays off. Frick My Nick getting the kill. The last one for Kyle Fett has a scream. Says, I respect it in chat.
Yeah.
And Lamau as well.
Yeah, and that's really quintessential TF2 class dynamic that you see there. Yeah, the spy works. It catches off the medic there, getting the backstep. But when you're one scout down and you can identify that on the mid, that gives Zone 6 the cue to just gas pedal straight in. And as you see, they absolutely ran him over, taking second with very little contest here. And we'll be gearing up to see if Kyle Flett can defend their last point. Because they did get that med pick, it is even Ubers, as you can see in those little bars down below Arcadia and Crasion's health.
And also, yeah, this will give Millie time to put up a sentry gun, so that defensive option coming out here. Basically, if you have a lot of time on last, you'll see those sentry guns coming up. If the defense feels like time is short, then they might just run the heavy weapons guy, a little bit of a portable sentry gun, essentially. Looks like the offensive push will come in here from Zone 6. One of the soldiers flying around in air. Coming back down behind Arcadia does force the Uber charge out here.
Yeah, and that was what they were going for there. You can see the double sack in to try and get that medic to pop the Uber or die. And Arcadia chose the first. Usually what you want to do, pop it, don't drop it.
Yep, that's right. Classic Team Fortress saying.
But it will give Crasion the massive advantage to lead his team on into this fight as we see them start to posture with all six now alive.
Yeah, and certainly when the mid fight is won strongly, that's when you'll get an easy turnover on the second point. Looks like the push might come out here. Well, not from lower. They're going to rotate over to Shutter. Coming out with the Uber charge right now.
There it is, still a sentry gun to contend with, but it will be spammed out pretty fast. No actual frags found yet. Actually, the first will be Shiny down on the scout. No point pressure point whatsoever. Scream Thief and a few shots on the medic there. It's still into a 1v3, 1v2 at the end. Slippy doing everything there and actually trading out. Only 3 people alive in the server, but it will be the stall out for Zone 6 for now. Just waiting on all these respawns to come on in.
Yeah, that changed pretty rapidly there with a good wraparound post-Uber from Alfredo Dan and the Scout. They were able to get the kill on Arcadia, but actually right after that Uber charge faded, red team all bunched up there, got cleaned up pretty quickly. Frick My Nick, the only survivor. And now we're just going to have both teams kind of reset here.
Yeah, and this is quintessential Team Fortress 2. Getting the push in, no one able to cap the point, and then just getting in there and rebuilding up these Ubers, which is what we are waiting for here. You see the scouts hitting themselves with their bat. That is because when you are hurt, you actually build Uber faster. So you see them taking advantage. Every second matters here. And you see that showcase quite clearly.
And one thing of note as well that is actually a bit more modern of a Team Fortress adjustment in the competitive scene is this reset round timer.
Yeah.
You know, basically for, I would say, a decade, it was just kept at what the default is in game, which is 9:59, almost 10 minutes. And so what I'm talking about here is, like, if you control a point, the enemy controls a point, and then nothing changes, after 10 minutes traditionally, then the round would reset and we'd have a new mid-fight. Basically pressured off of one of Team Fortress's top players, Banny, he's led this charge of changing that to 5 minutes. So now you see that 5-minute timer has already crept down to about 1.5 minutes. So that means that Zone 6, if they don't get anything done offensively in this next 1.5 minutes, we will reset and we'll have another mid-fight. And honestly, this has been a fantastic change for the game.
Ooh, yeah, you can see that it's that top timer on your screen of the two. Alfredo Dan managed to spam it a little bit, gets just a pick onto Math and the Sentry as well. This is a big advantage to take as you're just peeking in, not even using Nuber, not committing at all. But with the pick onto Frickmanek going the other way, it will be a bit of a reset. As you can see now, ticking 1 minute left to make this last push for Zone 6, or for Kyle Flett to push out and cap second, or the round will reset.
Yeah, it's all about player count and health here. The player count was even, but Bear was kind of banged up. They needed to kind of heal their players. You know, there's getting players back to normal, and then there's also getting everybody buffed up, pushing those health numbers to unnatural territory.
Yeah, we start to see the push on left here. Oh, dropping 2 instantly on the push.
That's going to be 3 with Bear getting through the doorway, but then thrown up in the air. Math with, I believe, the Huntsman bow and arrow, thinking about pushing out here. And this is where a situation where, I mean, again, in the modern game, there's maybe even a little bit of a debate of, like, do you even bother capturing the second point, or do you just let this round reset? Slippy pushing in aggressively is going to get an uber charge popped out here, and 12 seconds on the clock, and it looks like Arcadia and company will be comfortable just hanging back and letting this round timer reset for a new, fresh mid-fight.
Yeah, and it is always to the advantage of the team holding last here to let that round reset, because obviously even if they were to push on second, they'd still have to recapture mid. Now, by letting the timer reset, they have a fair fight to get mid again. So a good hold here from Kyle Flett. You know, you could have definitely seen them start to crumble there with how chaotic it was, how much pressure was on them, but did a good job to just sustain themselves. And we're heading right back into another mid-fight, still 0-0.
Yeah, and in some of these maps traditionally in the past, you know, with the older round timers, you know, Snakewater is fairly easy to hold, and teams offensively, instead of taking risks, they would just play it really slow and just try to poke holes and poke holes. And now the defensive team, if they have a strong hold on last, they get rewarded more.
Yeah, definitely so. Bear goes for a quick high bomb in behind the soldiers, trading out onto the demo, man. It just trades back and forth all over the place here. But it is really just going to be Zone 6 coming out on top in the end, not able to sustain, and Creation will remain safe. These last players, no threat whatsoever. It'll just be Arcadia and Math running on back to their last, preserving that uber charge for the final hold.
Yeah, and generally in Team Fortress, positionally, you talk about a roaming soldier and a pocket soldier, meaning that the pocket soldier plays a little bit closer to the medic while the roamer plays a little bit crazier. And on that mid-fight, you know, Bear playing more of a roamer, he jumped over the enemy team, got behind, and then while everybody was kind of glancing at him real quick, Frickmanek coming in with an awesome bomb, getting the demo man and opening up that mid-fight. Arcadia did retreat, hold on to that uber charge, so again, we're into this defensive setup on last point.
Yeah, and you see Millie trying to move that sentry gun up to a more aggressive position, gonna get it just spammed out. But yeah, and you said the roaming soldier and the pocket soldier, but you also really have that concept with scouts as well. You tend to have a combo scout and a flank scout, one that's tending to stick more and bodyguard the demo man and the medic from those bombing soldiers, and the other one that can tend to watch the flank, try and 1v1 against those roamers and the opposing flank scout. So definitely you see that dynamic a lot in TF2 of what we call the combo, which is the medic and all those players around that core, and the flank, which is people trying to get around and get behind and poke at the edges of the map. That dynamic and people rotating between them is really the key part of TF2's positional gameplay.
Yeah, you also hear us talking about sacks, short for sacrifice, and that was something where, you know, defensively, The team seemed like they had maybe an opening. Tree tried to get forward and get a sack, maybe cause an uber charge, pop, something like that. Unsuccessful, and right now the defense actually having some serious problems here. Sentry gun's gone down. Slippy's got 8 seconds on the respawn timer, and the push coming through Shutter right now.
Yeah, speaking of flank, Bear was able to get just a ton of space on that flank.
Oh, Krajan drops!
Sentry. Oh, but Krajan drops. Arcadia is proving it. Pop it, don't drop it, and that will just be the advantage of them, just like that.
Yeah.
Krajan did not right-click, and that's a last push.
Can't even have a lag excuse for that one, as took a rocket and then a big damage shot from the scout.
Oh, but it's the back cap coming out. They got 3 on it. They got the pick, and it will go over. Zone 6, able to just sneak in behind, get that cap right out under their noses. What a way to lose your first round.
Yeah, unfortunate one for all the Kyle Flett experience after that kind of glimmer of hope with the Ubercharge being dropped. Players looked like they were pushing forward pretty well, but it all comes down to that last cap, and you know, you concede that, and that's a round point.
Yeah, gotta cover your flank as you exit those doors. But it will be another mid out. You see these demo men getting here. Not much advantage, actually maybe a slight advantage for Wild Rumpus, but definitely in the damage department here, as we see these posturing again.
And Soldiers trying to coordinate in here for Kyle Flett experience. They're going to be able to get some kills as Alfredo Dan goes down. There's Bear and Krispy Kreme as well. So it's zone 6 on the back foot. Frick My Nick does pick up one more against Millie. Wild Rumpus, though, pushing his team forward, getting onto the second point already.
Yeah, good job from the combo there to keep Arcadia up and alive. So again, we're seeing a reverse situation. Wild Rumpus is actually running the lock-in mode. That is a bit of a kooky weapon we're seeing out here.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that we mentioned, you know, item bans and whatnot earlier in the pregame, but there certainly are some weapons that kind of come down to personal choice and do have their strengths and their own moments. The Demo Man is really known for these like grenade spam, you know, with the Iron Bomber and the traditional one, meaning that if you don't hit your shot directly, the grenade just sits on the ground there and then will explode and cause troubles. Iron Bomber being what Alfredo Dan is using, where the grenades don't really roll all that well. The stack coming in from Blue here while I'm talking about all that did get the Ubercharge popped out here. Arcadia has to use as well and unfortunately drops Math. So they really only have 3 players up here. Bear will get taken out, so not too many players up for zone 6, but they still might push out here.
Yeah, it was a bit of a weird pop from Krajan there as well, just sort of in no man's land. This fight is continuing. Scream putting a lot of pressure on the point, trying to make that space for his team to come in, but the respawners are back, so not a lot going to be made of that. Fragmentic on the flank to just win a 1v1 against Math, try to preserve his life, just be a thorn in their side as long as he can. But it will not be much of a consequence. We will still see point situation remain unchanged for now.
Well, it does force Arcadia into a weird spot. They have a slight Uber charge, which, you know, that information is unknown to the players. But at the same time, you know, teams have gotten really good about basically counting the Uber charges and having a sense of what the circumstances are. So they might, you know, be aware that they have this slight Uber charge, and that's also one of these reasons why they might be pushing in here. Of course, they also have the number advantage. Tree with a big bomb over the top, controls that health pack. Both the scouts for red are on the point backing up. Krispy Kreme locked out. The other scout going to be in trouble as well. Thrown sky high. Nobody can connect with the air shot, but he will crater down. Tree gets killed with a rocket from Frick My Nick coming through lobby, but still a good advantage here for Arcadia and company. Creation just now getting the defensive Uber prepared.
Yeah, and that Brass Beast heavy on top of point, going to neutralize any forward momentum to try and capitalize on the slight advantage that we saw there. It was only about 5%. But with 2 now going down the stop on this defense, only 1 now just spawning. We are seeing attempts, but with Slippy going down and the so is Millie there, yeah, that will definitely be the cancel there for the Kyle Flett experience.
The double sack is pretty common on Snakewater, throwing 2 players forward into that last point to try to get an Uber charge pop from the defensive medic. That's just something where, you know, the way that this map works out, if you sack 2 players and you have an Uber charge to hold second, it's hard for that defensive team to push out. So you really have enough time there. Usually teams, if we're playing more in the middle of the map, that's when you'll just see a singular sack. But pushing into last, the double sack a lot more common.
Yeah, you saw that, but the soldiers just could not make any headway against that heavy. Completely lasers them out of the air. As can happen sometimes, your soldiers just get denied, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
But we're going to reset here. We see now it's Shiny over on the Engineer. Instead of the Heavy, going to be putting up a Sentry, or trying to at least. It's getting spammed a little bit by Tree. And that's actually 2 picks back again.
Oh,
so over the 3rd.
Yeah.
And that could be the signal for Zone 6 to give it a go, to push out. See what they can find here, as they are indeed posturing for it. And it looks like the Conflict Experience just want to give this up. Don't want to risk losing too much and having to also forfeit mid just to hold second. They will get the forward spawns there, so they will have all 6 there in time. We will likely see this just stalemate out again here.
Yeah, and Team Fortress is definitely a game about momentum and resetting. Some of the more inexperienced teams might try to just kind of hold on to that second point, not back up and reset. But it's important that you do so, because otherwise you can just get rolled all the way back and lose an entire round because you're playing too loose.
Yeah, saw Slippy go in there for a little bit of a sack, but just cleaned up by Krispy Kreme over there. And that's what we're really going to see here. It's just a battle of who can get that one-man wedge in. You see Frickmanek going on the counter, gets absolutely stuffed, finished up by a nice pipe from Wild Rumpus there.
Millie with a bit of a flank, trying to get an opportunity to enable his team to push in through lower. Tree will kind of bomb in here. Frickmanek still waiting to respawn, but not too much going on for Kyle Fett here.
Yeah, just trying to put pressure on that lower area, try and draw eyes, see if they can maybe get a player in, get some space, get a favorable duel, but not going to happen, so we'll just see them kind of content to reset here, take their time with it. Still 4 minutes on that round timer, so no big pressure to make a push for either of these teams. It does usually fall on the team holding the middle point in the case to kind of take initiative, break the stalemate, but it depends on the situation. Of course, we see them trying to make their way in this left side. Slippy's going for a real high bomb. That's ambitious, and it will not pan out.
Yeah, it did get a final rocket on Crazian, but medics regen pretty quickly, so just being at half health, not that big of a deal for Crazian. If there's no follow-up, you're just not really going to be able to accomplish anything. Frickmanek behind again. Slippy respawning. Now a kill coming out on Millie, so...
Market Guardian did not quite do it, but there's the force.
Yeah, Arcadia thought maybe a final rocket was coming out there. So did, pop it, don't drop it, but, sometimes you got to take that risk to see which way things will fall.
Yeah, drop it to around 70 there. Direct rocket would have killed him, so understandable to use the Uber as we start to see Zone 6 just clearing their corners, trying to get in. If they can, they would like to not have to use this Uber to get the midpoint, and Slippy is trying his hardest to make that not true, but it will just be a mid take for Zone 6 and maintaining that Uber, so they have about a 40% advantage that they can try to roll into second, and they will posture to do so. Millie on Sniper and forwards.
Yeah, so sitting in this forward spawn so that Millie can pop out. Oh, he gets the drop!
Amazing.
Beautiful stuff. But then, because they're still in that spawn room, Millie able to switch over to Scout and get back into action here. Kyle Fett a little bit slow getting forward. Scream trying to come in and possibly get a Uber charge used or dropped from Arcadia, but the team sniffed that out and able to deal with that threat.
Yep, so same situation here for Kyle Flett. They want to try and take mid, and they want to try and do it without using the Uber. Frickmanek again postured for a little bit of a flank and losing Math straight on in. 2 picks straight back, though. That's what they needed, or else that could have been a potentially dangerous situation. Just going to see Shiny go and link back up with Sympathies on second. That is mid back the way of Kyle Flett. Did lose 2 for it, so we won't see an immediate roll onto second. And we see Scream right back into that spot that Millie was, in the forwards.
Yeah, let's see if he can duplicate it.
Is Sympathies in front of him, has a shot at it, can see that heal beam, but not quite good enough. Going to just spawn off of it, does not want to give up the mana for his team. And Frickmanek just getting the trade there on the Scout.
Now, at this point, slight Uber ad, but Crazian will have it shortly. Not enough of an ad to full push on here. Numbers are even, but with Millie coming from the spawn room is still advantageous for the defensive team for a little bit here. Tree, big bomb in, and does get the demo man, so.
Yeah, that is a really important pick. However, Millie is up, but on Spy. So that's a Scout that you don't have for this push, and it makes it really hard to capitalize on just the one-man ad, even if it is the demo man. So just going to opt to put the Spy into play, let the Spy work, get into position, and try and take an even bigger ad. But this Deagle is going to come in, but it's just not right.
Yeah.
And, oh, losing their own demo man as well. That could be really bad. That could be the push out here for Zone 6.
Yeah, Demo Man's so good at controlling those doorways. So, you know, when you're the offensive team trying to push in, you get the Demo Man. That means that you can walk in through doorways a lot easier. Conversely, though, if you're the defensive team and then you're trying to push out after picking off a Demo Man, you know that you'll be able to get through those doors without problem.
Yeah, I don't want to get a perfect positioning there from Slippy. Just came through cheese on that fading Uber from Crazian, was able to totally pinch the combo. So great effort there, but just the team fight. Wild Rumpus, nice little pipe, nice bit of flair. But just not enough to take his team over the line ultimately in that fight. It does prevent it from being too much of a roll, though, which is
everybody's so banged up.
And actually, Tree is able to take so much space.
Yeah, Alfredo Dan got knocked down to 6 health there, so had to back away from this fight. And looks like actually the Kyle Flett experience will be able to reset here. Still down 1 round to 0, but they'll just be able to build out this Uber charge, kind of pump the brakes a little bit, and get, should be able to get 2 solid push attempts into last, even if their first doesn't go their way.
It is potentially a push ladder. It's small, it's just a bit under 20% ad for Crazian. So we could see that come into play, but likely just going to see, given that the engineer is up on screen, just a standard last hold. They'll let it even out. And Zone 6, they don't need to take any big risk here. They're up around 2.5 minutes left here on the round timer. Not a lot of pressure on either of these teams, but the onus is on Kyle Flett to get at least 1 round before they do run out of time completely. About 10 minutes left on the map.
Yeah, and we'll see if they try to go for a double sack of sorts here. Soldier is coming in from the side at the same time that Millie goes down. And Alfredo Dan did get banged up pretty good, but able to survive.
Yeah, Alfredo Dan just narrowly surviving there. Could have been the key, as it gives them kind of an opportunity to actually push out. If they'd lost that pick, maybe wouldn't be. Oh, but just spammed out and losing Bear as well. That's actually really good for Kyle Flett. They could just try to take this exchange in with their spawners coming on the back of this. Just a question of if they can get that Sentry gun, and they do. And Krispy Kreme goes. So that's actually really big. They are bleeding players here on Zone 6 as they are locked into spawn, having to use that Uber.
And a much later Uber coming out from Arcadia actually still hasn't even popped yet. There it is, finally. Flashing map. Can he save Tree? No. Unfortunately, not be able to save Tree. They need to get some pressure on point. They're getting stickies around the point, trying to pistol off Crazian. Crazian surviving, though. Wild Rumpus will hit that close range lock and load, but they've lost all their players. There goes Math. And it seemed like there was high potential for Kyle Flett experience to possibly get that capture, but unable to do so.
That Crazian living for as long as he did was so important there, because you saw that scout just absolutely fixated on the Medic fight. But really, they needed cap pressure there. That's what Kyle Flett needed. They had the picks, they had the space, but they didn't have anyone to actually get on the point and apply that pressure. So just without the potential to actually win the round, it will be Zone 6 retaking second, and perhaps a missed opportunity for Kyle Flett to tie this game.
Yeah, certainly. They're going to regret that one. Yeah, and again, I think your analysis is completely on point. You need to pressure cap. That's what it's all about. Sometimes if you laser focus in on that too much, you'll lose the fight surrounding the capture point. But being so distracted gave Zone 6 time to get their players back into the fight.
Yeah, definitely. We start to see Kyle Flett still posturing in on lower. It's better they don't actually have the Uber yet, but it's just going to be distracting. Trying to send Slippy in through the window. Ultimately getting nothing. Classic setup for the second snake, though.
Yeah, pretty good overlap attempt from Tree and Slippy, but you're right, Slippy getting shut down. Frick My Nick also then getting shut down, so there won't be a big push out here from Zone 6. Both medics with Uber charge. Millie checking to see what's going on the log side, but will actually end up getting cut out by Alfredo Dan.
Yeah, Math almost had to spam there, so if they lost 2, that could have been potentially a sign for Zone 6 to apply some pressure, but it's just going to be them trying to take this lobby area for the time being. They do have the man ad, so we could see a counter sack out of them.
Yeah, they were trying to for sure, but ended up getting a little stuffed in the Saul lobby. Good rotation from, I think that was Slippy on blue team.
Yeah, for sure. So you can see just Slippy posturing in this lower area as the rest of the team starts to pressure lobby. See what they want to do here. Going in for the wall shot here, but just suspended by these scouts. They knew what was coming. And yeah, Slippy, not a hope in hell.
6 minutes on our map timer here. It's been a pretty tight game. Oh, as Arcadia picks up the frag on Frick My Nick with the arrow. Love seeing medics get kills.
Yeah, medic DM, most important factor actually in winning games.
For sure. Yeah, you know, now it's been a long time since those heal arrows were added into the game, but that has been a crucial factor for, you know, adding more depth to the medic gameplay and, you know, separating some teams from others.
Controversial, depending on who you ask, if you've ever read a banned crossbow thread. But now you see, you know, Tree saying, Slippy, you know what, nah, I got this, I can do it better, but completely denied again. Does live, though, so getting another bite at the cherry, perhaps. But Slippy, super low, just going to have to get out of dodge.
And Math getting cleaned up by Scream, couldn't quite pull out that Scout v Scout. So yeah, again, it looks like Zone 6 resetting and able to cover their bases here on the second point. Frick My Nick trying to get in through Kitchen and will get behind the enemy team.
Yeah, we've seen Frick My Nick have a lot of success getting behind the other team, so maybe a weakness that he's spotted over in the flank. But just going to be going in for the cancellation. Now one rocket under, getting almost a crisp air shot, but not quite in the right place. But the force is what he was looking for, and he got it. No Uber left on Arcadia. Full advantage for Crazian. Let's see how Kyle Flett want to deal with this. They will want to get that Uber out of Crazian, let him get mid, and then just try and re-push with their newly found advantage. We'll have to see if they can pull off the leapfrog here. As it looks like Zone 6 posturing towards this lobby area again, just crossing their I's, dotting their T's. That's not how that goes, but whatever. And yeah, we'll start seeing them just posture towards the door as they take out Fred, but he's juggled up. It's super awkward.
Oh, yeah. It was a pretty good job from Tree kind of stuffing that, but then two other players going down. At the same time, you mentioned Leapfrog, and these spawn timers are going to be really rough. So that might hinder the Kyle Flett Experience's ability to hold second, even though they do have an Uber charge.
Yeah, to get that Uber charge out, if you want to hold second, it's like one pick you can do that with. Two, maybe, depends on what you get in turn, but three is a little hard. But they are going to try and actually take this Uber in, see if they can capitalize, and they will pick up Crazian. So this cap might finish, but they will force him out. And yeah, that's an excellent retake, but they lose Arcadia. Last rocket from Frick My Nick. Gonna clean up the kill there. And yeah, it will be second, but at what cost? With Crazian spawning first, it will be a slight advantage for Zone 6, as they will revert back to holding mid for now.
Yeah, that was rough to lose Arcadia there. I really like that decision to push out. That shows a good understanding of game knowledge and also awareness about the current game state. Because basically right now, 3 minutes on the map timer, if they had allowed Zone 6 to establish themselves fully on that second point and just threaten into last, like basically a round reset would have meant that the game was over. And Zone 6 with a 1 point advantage, that's not going to be a situation that works out for Kyle Flett Experience. So they needed to stop the momentum. They were able to do so on second. They're still going to have to find some way to crawl forward. But they completed at least step one of their roadmap to possibly tying this game up.
Yeah, definitely. They've done very well to keep themselves in striking distance, which I think, given the team that I said, before the game, Zone 6, very seasoned roster, that's a very impressive feat for a team that, maybe hasn't been around the block as many times. I believe a lot of these players' first LAN experiences, maybe. I know Arcadia's been, but not sure about some of the others.
And Millie jumps in through the window, getting a little bit of pressure. They have clear eyes on where Alfredo Dan is. Millie takes a pipe on the way out. And again, 2 minutes on the clock. Like, something has to happen here. And you might see some riskier plays coming out from the Kyle Flett Experience.
Yeah.
Just to try to get back into this game.
Yeah, for context, it takes about 40 seconds to build an Uber, so you've only got maybe 2 of those from each team left in the game if we start seeing them come out now. But really, it has to be Kyle Flett here making the moves, and Zone 6, they know that well and entirely. They know that they can afford to hold on to mid here, and with Bear getting that pick onto Slippy, it becomes just a little bit easier for them to make this happen. And yeah, it looks like it's going to be the kitchen push potentially coming in. They want to take the scout in on Math. Let's get stalled out a little bit.
Yeah, with a player like Bear who's got so much experience, he's going to know they just need to hold here. Here comes the Ubercharge exchange. Arcadia and Math running in, but Krasian calmly pops the Ubercharge on Alfredo Dan.
Yeah.
And looking rough for Kyle Flett experience as we're running into our final minute of the map timer. A fight over on the side, tree thrown sky high. Ooh, barely dodges the air shot. Will get pistol down midair. And the push still underway here for Kyle Flett experience, but Scream gets a kill on Arcadia. Wild Rumpus in trouble. Math full health, but stuck in kitchen alone. Last one standing for his team.
And we're seeing exactly what all this time is about, because it is the garbage time, everyone.
Yeah.
No way that Kyle Flett can take it back at this point. It is mathematically impossible.
Yeah, GG's being called out, even though we still might see a little bit of a fight here over on last. As Zone 6 pushing it hard here. Millie on the heavy weapons guy. 15 seconds on the clock. And they do have players standing on the point. Arcadia trying to keep Wild Rumpus alive, trying to keep Slippy alive. They are getting some frags. They are holding on to this last point for a good amount of time, but however, it is going to get cleared out in the last couple of seconds. 2-0 for Zone 6, but wow, what a close game.
Yeah, the ending sword double there from Alfredo Dan to close it, put the cherry on top for one of this tournament's favorites here to advance 2-0 at this point in the group stage.
Yeah, and strong play from them. I think that they're going to be disappointed in how that turned out. They had some strong opportunities to tie that game up, but also they do have to take that as a confidence builder. Being able to hold off Zone 6 on those pushes into last. The stiff arm, keeping them out, getting that round reset. And like I said, having an opportunity to tie it up 1-1. They were really close to being able to do it. If they can tighten up their last push, they would have had it. And Zone 6 certainly one of the stronger teams in this in this collection of players that we have here today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll read what you said. Very impressive from Kyle Flett to go and make it as competitive as it was. And I think good for everyone. No one wants to see a blowout. No one wants to see a rout in this kind of a game. And that's something that can definitely hold their head high about, go into their other games and, make an appearance in the playoffs later on. So definitely good signs. You see, maybe someone who can pull off an upset, pull off a bit of a, spoiler for someone else's tournament,
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, you hope across the board that all of these teams are just going to be building up chemistry, that they're going to get stronger as the tournament progresses. And we are going to be showing another Zone 6 match coming up. The Zone 6 versus it's Cookout something. Sorry, let me get that full team name. Cookout Crew. Yep. So we'll have that coming up in just a little bit. Waiting on other matches to finish. The Portland Burnsiders are playing up against who's that? They're playing up against Cookout Crew right now, and that's a pretty tight match. The Burnsiders up 2-1. And holding off a push and a last from the Cookout Crew. So I think that's going to do us for the moment. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We got a good crowd over on essentials.tf. And, we'll be back with some more coverage. It's been Eckstein, joined by Iyer. Shout out to our production crew as well, essentials.tf, holding it down. We got Connie on the observing. Arch Rhythm. Connie's just dabbing, unfortunately. I don't know. Oh, and we got a dab from our producer as well. Uh-oh. Yeah.
No. Security is descending upon us as we speak.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back shortly. Just need to take a break as we get set up for our next match, the third match for the group stage coming up shortly. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned.